they were going to get some Botox together, which I think is fairly common there. They're probably all getting a little Botox here and there.
Oh, sure.
Zack, however, got Scrotox, which is Botox in your balls so that they hang lower. They're more aesthetically pleasing for them to hang lower. And I learned more about balls this episode than I was prepared to.
Listener discretion advised. Adult language and mature content.
It's so good. Welcome back again, everyone. Two Queens, One Screen. I'm Jen.
I'm Keeley.
And we were just gossiping about the newest Love Island and how fantastic it is.
Yep.
It's a little bit, I want it to be as good as last season. And I don't think anything's going to touch how incredible last season was. But this one's shaping up to be pretty fun.
Oh, yeah. Super messy.
Keeley, you haven't watched quite as much as I have watched.
No, I am not caught up to date. Unfortunately, I am only up to where they did the first recoupling and Beldasha is gone. Mm-hmm. But again, I have seen clips. I am not beneath spoilers and watching what has happened ahead of time because I am a middle child and I suffer from FOMO greatly. So I need to know what is happening at all times ahead of time. So I kind of know what's been going on, although I haven't seen the full episodes that you have senne, the current two. I think there's two that I haven't seen.
How I felt about last week was that Belle/Dash that she needed to not be on the show. She is stunningly gorgeous. Like one of the most beautiful people that has ever been on that show, in my opinion. Like could be a runway model, editorial model, or actress or something. Just so gorgeous. But she's really into her Christian values and was not going to put out. Ends up going back on that and putting out quite a bit. She went all in the baseball game that they played where it was just like go make out in food with different people. Pick 4 people to go make out in food with. Yeah. And then she continued to make out with Nick. She put all of her eggs in the Nick basket. Mm-hmm. And Nick's like, oh, wow, she's going to make out with me. But the other girl, Sierra's going to do a lot more. And so Nick went with Sierra. And I believe that was the correct choice. No. Sierra... also very cute, nowhere near as stunning as Beldasha.
Oh no!
But she's gonna do butt stuff, I think. So
Nick is very lustful with Sierra, but I think he had a physical attraction with Beldasha. Like he kept saying she was his type. You know, maybe on the outside, maybe he would pick her up at a bar or something like that, just looking at her, where Sierra, all he wants to do is have sex with her immediately. And I think he's admitted that several times.
They have
over and over again.
Intense sexual chemistry that is undeniable.
He just keeps saying that she mounted him in the photo booth, right? And that's what basically changed his mind. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Okay.
This is not the first time that dry humping has changed the course of history.
No, but I do love that Mother Nature ruined him and put that giant zit, that stress zit on his face so we all could see.
Big old thing. He looks like a young version of Uncle Baby Billy.
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
I can't not see it.
Oh,
I just look at him and I just see baby Uncle Baby Billy.
Uncle Baby Billy, yep.
That's what he looks like. Also, Austin just keeps rising up the ranks.
How is that happening? How are we here?
And these are the important points that you may have missed. He has sent thousands of dick pics. It's also like one of the things that came up.
Right. Right. And he even said, he said to Maya that sex is important. but making love is also good. Who says that? Like, when you're first meeting someone
that's trying to get laid.
What Neanderthal says that? And you're like, yeah, totally, I'm into that. That's the guy I want to talk to. What?
A white trash Florida pool boy with frosted tips says that.
What are we doing?
For some reason, it's working for him. Is it because he's tall? Oh. But I am starting to find him endearing. I don't understand how Shelley, who at this point I believe is the prettiest girl on the show. Oh. I don't know how Shelley is. I think Shelley has to do it because she has to play the game. I think in this, the reason that I'm fully invested. I'm going to watch this every single night of the week, other than hump day, because it's the only day it's not on. I feel like this group of people is more aware of the game part of the show, whereas last season it was full. Everyone was completely trying to fall in love or horned up, and they kind of forgot that it was going to be a thing for money at the end. And this one, I kind of feel like there's a lot of people who are chasing the clout, and good for them. All the commercials that have come and the Instagram brand deals that have come from the people last year. But I think Ace is one of those people.
Oh, I'm getting sick and tired of Ace. He's going to become Dora the Explorer. If he says exploring one more time, I'm going to put my shoe through the goddamn TV. In the beginning, I clocked him as an ick. I saw people on the internet were like, oh, he's my favorite. I love him. He's so great. No, he's gross. I did see a little clip of him and Amaya getting messy and having an argument. Again, I haven't seen it. I don't know what that was about, but.
Well, spoilers. Yeah. Here's the deal. Here's my feelings on it. I also agree he gives me the ick. However, I'm on his side with the Amaya thing. Okay. And actually, I'll be interested to see after you watch it if you have a different opinion. He picks Amaya, which made no sense. Why was he not picking Shelley?
Right.
But he picks Amaya. Then, after he picks her, sits her down and goes, hey, just so you know, I'm still open to explore other connections. You should be open. And she's like, could you not have told me that tomorrow? Like, let me just feel good that you picked me for one night. Yeah. And he's like, also, we're not going to cuddle. She like freaked out and cried and was very upset. And then the next day she freaks out and cries because he's like, I'm not into PDA, and also don't call me babe. Like, I'm not comfortable with you calling me babe. And she's like, I call everybody babe. She has the crazy eyes. She's one of those people, and I see this only from minor experience of, I had a friend who was a stripper, and she would hold eye contact and like look at you without blinking, and it would just like look at you the whole time, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? Oh my God, and Amaya does that.
Yeah.
Where she doesn't really have anything intelligent to say.
Yes.
Or to add. So she says a lot of really general things that she thinks sounds deep. And she holds the eye contact and smiles and giggles and nods her head a lot. And you're like, this isn't a conversation. But she's doing that to everybody.
Yeah.
And she's devastated that Ace is like not falling for it.
Yeah.
He stays chill the entire time. And I don't think he's sitting there poking the bear. Maybe a little bit. But she's flying off the handle in 2 seconds. Intense. It's a little too much. I'm not a fan of Amaya. And I hate that Bella went home, but Amaya stayed there.
Right. No, I get that.
I think Amaya and Austin, they're chatting a little bit. They actually seem great.
Well, I thought Amaya and Austin kind of have the same mental, I don't know what the right word is, when you were describing how they just kind of gaze and nod and stare at each other. I'm like, there's really no one home, and they can have that same conversation by not saying anything. And they're like, There's just air going on in there, like a balloon deflating. And I thought, he's going to pick her, and this is a perfect couple. And Ace is going to pick Shelley, and we're going to move on with our lives. But no, we have Dora the Explorer. Ace is just fucking it all up all around. And then I saw Austin being upset. A little clip of, was he talking about Ace? Okay, so yeah.
He feels like he's in a love triangle. Ace tried to set up a cute little yoga thing, like a yoga breakfast for him and Shelly. Shelly had been planning to make Austin breakfast, and then he tries to pull her aside, but then as she's getting ready to go down to the thing with Ace, she gets stopped by Amaya, and Amaya is screaming at her for not being upfront about her connection with Ace.
Oh, okay.
And she's like, I'm coupled up with Austin.
What are you talking about? Gotcha.
But yeah, we're all exploring, like, if you know that we're all exploring this, why are you screaming at me? The whole thing was so over the top and delicious, and exactly why I watched that show.
Yeah.
And also, I think that Huda Coulda Shoulda and Jeremiah are maybe about to like implode. But everyone is going like, I don't think they're real. I don't think they're real. I think that they are real. I think that in this, it's like that M. Night Shyamalan movie where they're on this little island and time is just going so much faster that they've gotten through the honeymoon phase and they're already sick of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, she's already complaining all the time. It's like, you've been there for 4 days.
Right.
You're talking about moving in together.
Mm-hmm.
And you're already talking shit about each other to others.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of impressive.
I heard that Taylor is not feeling Alandria anymore. Is that real?
He's not physically attracted to her. Like, they don't have that spark. First of all, Alandria kisses with tongue first every time, tongue first.
I get that. Yuck.
But she's so attractive.
She's beautiful.
I would say I'm pretty straight, and I find the women much more attractive than the men in this.
Oh, hell yeah. Uh-huh.
Like, the girls are so much prettier.
Mm-hmm.
Side note, we were both talking about how she kisses tongue first, and we both went, eh. Matt said that when I make that sound, he just thinks about this podcast, because apparently you and I do that a lot.
Oh, okay. All right. There you go, Matt.
You're welcome, and I'm sorry, everyone.
Yeah.
We're just going to do that a lot.
So, okay. Love Island is awesome. I will catch up, but thank you.
It's just wonderful. So dumb and easy, and I love it. Speaking of shows that we love, we got to get into The Valley. The Valley this week I didn't find as shocking as I found it last week, but I think we're gearing up for next week is going to be insane.
I feel like we say that all the time. Do we say that every week?
True. Like, we're holding it off. Well, we also thought that
he was getting
Jax
out.
Might be getting out this week.
Yeah.
He's getting out next week. Mm-hmm. Is the episode that we're going to see, which I think, we knew that was possible. But there were some fun things that we have learned about just in general.
Oh, man. Fun things. That's a good word to say. Fun. Yeah.
Well, Kristen and Luke are hosting a housewarming party for their cute house. Everybody's there. Except for Jax. The first little conversation that we really get to is Danny talking about his fun guy date that he went on with Zach. They were going to get some Botox together, which I think is fairly common there. They're probably all getting a little Botox here and there.
Oh, sure.
Zach, however, got Scrotox, which is Botox in your balls so that they hang lower. They're more aesthetically pleasing for them to hang lower. And I learned more about balls this episode than I was prepared to.
Help me, Jesus.
I do accept that I am not familiar with gay male culture of ball aesthetics. Yeah. But you do want them to hang lower, I guess. And apparently it feels better when you're having sex because there's more movement because they're not coming up and down. But they even said it in the after show. Balls have to go up and down to regulate your body temperature.
Is that real? People, help us out.
They go up and down.
Know any of this. He said in the after show that they're firmer too when he gets the Scrotox. Okay. I'm like, okay, well, I can get behind that. I understand that part. I just didn't understand the hanging part.
I think in general, women don't really care.
No. We're not going anywhere near those goddamn things.
It's not
focus. It's not a focus. We don't know anything about them. And even if we do go near them, we're not quite sure if that's what you want us to be doing. Maybe we're thinking that's what you want and we're just playing a guessing game at that point, right?
Yeah, I feel like in general, it's just if we're in that area, you're just thrilled that we're there and you're not going to critique it.
Right.
But when it's two dudes, they can actually get like a little bit more intense about it.
Sure, more specific.
So maybe Zack should give us a little bit more information. But it didn't even seem like that. He was that aware of why he was even doing it. He was just doing it to try it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And apparently as you get older, they hang lower anyway. So if he just waited a couple years, he would have known what that was going to be like anyway.
Did you not know that they hung lower when you get older? They're like boobs. They just sag. Right? They just sag. I mean,
they just gravity. No man can escape it.
There's no collagen. There's no fat. There's nothing in there. They're just going to hang there just like boobies. So,
but like, whereas for women, we don't want the sag. With men, you do want it.
Right. Which is, even the producer was like, why are you rushing it? Mm-hmm. Jesse was into it. Jesse wanted to.
Yeah. Jesse was like, but I'm the weirdest one here. If you tell Jesse, here's an expensive thing, everybody's doing it. Mm-hmm. He would 100% do it.
Oh, shit, yeah. Sure, you pour some wine on your balls. He'd be like, yeah, I'll do that. You betcha.
100%. 100%. Thank God the house was big, and thank God they had indoor-outdoor space.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Janet and Jason are there. Nia and Danny also get there, and everyone has to stay in their corners.
Outside, inside, yes.
Staying away from each other. But it seems like Jason and Danny have kind of figured it all out. But Nia and Danny are still anti-Janet. Yeah. And you can't really be not cool with Janet and cool with Jason as a group. You have to pick a side. It's all or nothing with them as a couple in these big group events. So they're like, we'll just stay away. Janet and Jason are hanging out, and then Jasmine comes up to them. So they had the huge blow up last episode. And Jasmine walks up and says, hey, all I'm going to say to you is just, I would love to have a sit-down dinner where we can talk it out, me and Melissa, Janet and Jason, and we'll figure it out. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, that sounds great. Oh, look at her being the bigger person. It's so good.
After she walks away, Janet doesn't acknowledge that she's there, doesn't look at her, just stares down at the ground, and Jason is the one that says, yeah, that's good.
Jason's a peacekeeper. Jason, I think, is this show's Tom Schwartz, even though the show has Tom Schwartz. He's going to be the one that's going to, like, he'll freak out and pour a beer on somebody, but he will also make peace with everybody in 2 seconds. But like, Schwartz, even to this day, isn't mad at anybody. Yeah. He's still trying to be friends with every single person. And I think that is going to be Jason in this.
Yeah, Jasmine walks away, and then Janet starts smack talking her and just being a bitch.
It's this really, like,
passive aggressive something.
Exact. That's the word. Passive aggressive. Like, oh, it looks like she's willing to be the bigger person, and I think that's really good of her and really big of her that she's willing to apologize. You're like, oh my fucking God. That's not what she said. She said she wants to sit down and have dinner.
Right. And then we meet this girl, Jenna.
We've seen Jenna before in Vanderpump, but like peripherally.
Oh, okay.
I think
like
Jenna,
Jared.
Yeah, I think Jenna was in Sheena's wedding.
Oh God. Okay.
They said that Sheena is like the 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon. Yeah. It's 1 degree to Sheena. Like, Sheena is the one that connects them all together. Yeah. Sheena should just be on the show.
Oh my God.
Sheena and Brock, just enter them in.
Please don't. No.
What if we add Sheena but get rid of Jasmine?
Oh, that'd be good.
Yeah.
I could deal with that.
And Jenna is telling Zack about how crazy it is that Michelle, oh my God, my dad is living for this conversation because he knows who none of these people are. But Jenna is telling Zack how crazy it is that Michelle is there with Aaron because a year and a half ago, she actually dated Aaron. And then she was like, do you think I should tell Jesse? And Zack, being messy as fuck, is like, oh my God, yes, where's Jesse? Get him over here. And then Jenna's like, did you know that I actually dated him a year and a half ago? In his brain, he's doing that meme from It's Always Sunny where he's like,
oh my God,
doing his conspiracy theory with the strings and all the pictures and everything. He's like, that's so crazy because I heard a story that Michelle confronted one of the guys she was cheating on me with by going to his house and caught him with another girl. Maybe that was her. And she didn't say that she had been confronted by Michelle. But she's like, oh yeah, that's so weird. That could be what it was.
Oh my God, stop.
Jesse needs to let it go.
I know.
No one cares.
You're such a tool.
It's also, like, catching on enough. Just enough that everyone is still, like, anti-Michelle. And he's talking about how also he thinks she was with multiple guys. And then Luke and Danny. This whole party, everybody was in different rooms having different conversations. And Luke and Danny were having best friend-brother time in one of the side bedrooms. And I guess they're going to be going on this Hawaii trip. And he needs Danny's help because he's going to be proposing. But Detective Doty makes it impossible to plan a surprise, which I thought was very cute because he's clearly excited about it. And Danny is such a sweet, supportive friend. He just loves love. He's the one that helped set up the massage chair to hopefully get her pregnant. It's weird how involved they get with these things.
Yeah.
And then in another room, Brittany is telling everybody about the phone call that we watched the last time, where she's trying to FaceTime Jax's sister, and then Jax is texting the producer that's in the house and telling them that he can hear everything. And then he sends a nasty email about how the house is in foreclosure. And then also he is being taken to the hospital for a possible heart attack.
Yeah.
And Brittany's going, I got a call from his therapist that, like, does everything with him. And, like, if he has to go out and do stuff, he's with a therapist.
Yeah.
And she's like, so he actually never left the facility. And he berated the front desk girl to tell them that he was going to urgent care, even though that wasn't true. So when Brittany did call to check on him that he was going to the hospital, he had made this poor front desk girl in tears because he made her lie and say that he had gone. And then his therapist then had to backtrack the next day and go, he never went. Yeah. That never happened. Yeah. He's fine. He, in the after show, then tells a story about how they came and checked him out at the facility and they hooked him up to monitors and things, and he can't fake a heart attack. And they said that he should go, but then he didn't really want to leave the facility. So then he went and took a nap, and then they woke him up and they were like, do you want to go? And he's like, no, I think I'm fine. I'll stay.
None of these stories make sense. I'm just saying, Jax is the biggest fucking liar on the planet. He asked if he left the facility, if he had the heart attack. He's just a liar. I mean, that's not the question that he was asked, you know. And then he says, well, I can't. How do you lie to a facility? How do you make a facility?
How do you trick a nurse into thinking you had a heart attack?
That wasn't the question that he asked you, Jax.
No.
So
he's ridiculous.
He is.
There's nothing that he says, and he's so calm. Like, if we hadn't been watching Jax for the last 10 years, 12 years, and this was the first time, I would think that Brittany was insane.
Yeah.
I would think that, because I would be like, look at him. He's chill. He's calm.
Yep.
There's no hesitation for him. They just flow. All the lies just flow out of him. Yep. It's incredible. He's a scary, scary person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it just gets worse and worse.
But he just blames everybody else for himself, just like the whole phone thing. Well, you know, the only thing I had in the facility was a phone. They should have taken it away from me. Are you serious? Why is it their fault that you have the phone, dude?
Mm-hmm. Well, and that was really fun too, is at the end, even Jesse was like, did you consider reading a book? Oh. So he's terrible, and I would not want to be dealing with him. So I'm sorry, Brittany. Then we see the next day, Michelle goes over to a very pregnant Lala's house, and they have a sit and catch up, and it was very sweet. And Lala is checking in on Michelle because, you know, Lala went through, she never got married, but she's dealing with co-parenting with Randall, who Randall is a monster. As obnoxious as Lala can be, Randall seems like genuinely a horrible person. And Lala and her talking about how difficult it is to co-parent, because then your kid comes home and you've got to go shopping in Target, and suddenly your kid's just throwing whatever they see that they might kind of want into the basket, and it's, no, that's not how this goes. But clearly Dad just lets everything happen. Oh, you want to go to the pool right this second? Let's go to the pool right this second. Whereas, you know, Lala has a routine at home, and then her daughter's like, I want to go to the pool. And she's like, no, it's lunchtime, and then you're going to take a nap. And I think we've all been there in some way. I think, with our partners when we're raising kids, but then also like with grandparents. Mm-hmm. When they come home from grandma and grandpa's and they're like, all right, I want this now. And you're like, no. And they're like, I've become accustomed to a certain lifestyle. And but they're having to deal with that with their co-parent. And that fucking sucks. Mm-hmm. To have to retrain your kids.
But it's nice that they can talk to each other about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Lala checks in and she was like, do you want to talk about your mom? And I know that we had heard about it a little bit in interviews, but I hadn't really clocked it. Michelle goes into, when everything started to really hit the fan with Jesse and the separation was happening and they're filing and getting all of that sorted, her mom thought she had food poisoning, got really, really sick, went to the hospital, and then ends up finding out she has stage 4 colon cancer. So over the last year, she has been dealing with this divorce. Then her mom gets diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And her mom is going through chemotherapy. She's very close with her mom. She's trying to be supportive of her mom as she's going through this. The first round of chemo did not work. And the cancer is just spreading to everything. And right now she is doing her second round of chemo, but it doesn't seem like things are going well because it's just like chemo, it's killing the cancer. It's hard on your body as it is. Yeah. And so Michelle's going through all of this and it becomes a theme to this episode. Michelle is not getting the same kind of support that Brittany's getting, I think. Yeah. But Michelle's also a quieter person. Michelle, I think, has like a little bit of a dignity to it. Yeah. And Jesse, like they both kind of are bougier and they hold themselves in a certain way that Brittany and Jax, they're willing to go as low as they need. Yeah. And they will Mima's beer cheese and Jax screaming at her about drinking in front of everyone.
Brittany and Jax are in your face about everything and anything on their mind, anything that's happening. And Michelle's really not like that. She's more reserved and introverted, but she also wants people to know what's on her mind without her telling you. I'm kind of like that myself, but FYI, but that's not fair to people and you have to be vulnerable and open up for people to help you. And she is really wanting help and she wants support.
And I think she's not asking for it. Like, I think she's
correct.
I think it hurts her that she has to ask for it in that way. Yeah. Which I kind of get. But then there's the little things that, like, while I'm very much on Team Michelle, and I do kind of agree that, like, she isn't getting the same amount of support and maybe could use a little bit more support, she also keeps going, what I'm going through with Jesse is worse. And I don't think it's helpful to be comparing them. You and I can compare them for fun on a podcast, but in this like friendship circle, I don't think that that's very helpful.
It's worse for her because she lives it. So it's worse for her in that aspect because that's her life. I think it's okay for her to say it in that way, but if it makes the world uncomfortable, social media uncomfortable, whoever uncomfortable, then fuck off. Who cares? Because she lives it. It's disappointing that her own friend group isn't supporting her. I don't know that they necessarily have to support her exactly the way that they're supporting Brittany, and I literally mean exactly the way they're supporting Brittany, but if they would show up for her, if they would go over to her house, if they would literally validate that she is having a hard day, I think she would be feeling better. But they just don't acknowledge anything about Michelle. They don't acknowledge anything for her. And it really hurts her feelings. And social media and the internet is ripping Michelle apart for even saying that. And I feel really bad for her because it's not fair. My life sucks too. And why won't my friends acknowledge that? And social media goes, you're not allowed to say that because you cheated on your husband and you even said that your husband's a good dad. So no, your friends shouldn't support you. Well, you can fuck right off a hill because why can't your friends support you? That's not fair. If you have a friend group Your friends should support you. Again, they don't have to support you in the literal same exact way. Right. They can call you. They can text you. You can go out on a date. You can go to a movie. You can have a sleepover. Why can't they do that for her? But everybody gets super judgy, and I don't understand that. I don't.
In the Jessie Michelle thing, totally team Michelle.
Yeah.
And then I think people are showing up for her, but it ends up being more one-on-one and it's less people, right?
Yeah.
So you see her have this great catch up with Lala. Yeah. And then you see her have last episode, they did the mommy play date with her and Nia. But she's not getting everyone showing up at her house. She's not getting everyone doing these big parties for her. And like, but then also Brittany's the one throwing half these parties. Brittany threw the white party.
That's
Brittany
true.
threw the shark party.
That's
and Michelle's like, I don't want to people in my house.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So I think it's what Brittany puts out there. She's putting out there these big group things, and so the big group things are coming in to be.
True.
But it was nice to see those two women be able to have that, because I think they do have a lot in common as far as like what they've been going through. I really did feel for Michelle a lot. The next thing we see is the dinner with Jasmine and Melissa, Janet and Jason. Very cool Mexican restaurant. All I want is a margarita and chips and salsa right now. I don't know who ordered it. I think it was Melissa. There was a drink. Did you see? They like set it down and it looked almost like a margarita on the rocks. But then there was something on fire in the middle of the glass.
I did.
I don't know what that was, but I wanted.
Yeah.
I love a beverage that has like something kooky going on with it.
Oh, I know, right?
Oh. They start they're like, all right, let's just break this whole thing down.
Well, Jason breaks the whole thing down. Okay, my take on that was Jason, it totally looked forced. He looked really nervous.
Like he was litigating something.
Yes, he was talking really fast. Mm-hmm. And Janet just sat there and nodded her head, staring at him like it was totally rehearsed or practiced, or she told him what to say. Mm-hmm. And I didn't love it. I didn't love it at all. It didn't seem natural. I didn't like it.
No, it was very odd.
Yeah.
And then he's like, so correct me. What part of what I've said is wrong? And
I didn't love that.
It felt very confrontational. Honestly, if I was them, that's exactly how I would do it if I felt like I was in the right. Because it put Jasmine in this position of, she was on defense. If she's trying to make things better...
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, all of that is actually fair. And I'm so sorry that I came at you that way. The only thing that's not true, I'm not the one that made it up. I didn't tell Kristen. Mm-hmm. And then they show the little video cut and she's like, they're like, you said that from Kristen. And she's like,
yeah, I did.
Yeah, I heard that from Kristen at the shark break. Come on. Just be a little consistent with some of it. Melissa steps in. Thank God for Melissa.
I know.
Because she's like, let's just say we want to move forward. Here's where we're at. Mm-hmm. We would like to move forward. We're sorry about this. This was what we can own. We love and care about each other. Let's move forward, blah, blah, blah. And it was all Janet getting exactly what she wanted. And then Janet's going, oh, I can forgive her because I can see that it's really Kristen that's the mastermind behind all of this.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm going to be honest. The idea that Janet thinks that there's this big conspiracy against her, that Kristen is masterminding, is its own version of narcissism. Mm-hmm. Come on, Janet. No one gives a shit. Chill out. And Kristen, God love her, has not been a mastermind since Miami Girl, right? And she threw that out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. She has these little files stored in the back of her head of when she's going to throw this out. And unfortunately, she holds them for too long.
Yeah.
The data deteriorates in her brain. And then she half throws out something that's almost correct, but the file is corrupted.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no masterminding there.
Well, the thing of it is with Jasmine in this whole rumor, Janet and Jason started the fight. Mm-hmm. With Jasmine, in regards to Jasmine, when he confronts Jasmine, he's like, I'm not quite 100% sure what happened. Dude, you guys started it in the first place. What do you mean you don't understand? I just, dude, give me a break.
It's nonsense. We all accept you don't take your ring off. No one gives a shit. But thank God that's finally over. We're ready to move on. We've moved on to a new thing, right?
Can we just go back to where he goes? You have this deep-seated resentment towards Janet. I want to ask you about that. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. Why is he asking Jasmine about that? And why is it not Janet asking Jasmine aside, away from everybody, personally? Why is this happening now in front of everybody?
Well, when it's framed that way, it looks like a character defect.
Yeah.
Instead of, did I do something? Instead of Janet being like, why are you mad at me? It's like, you can't be mad at the mother of my child.
So mad.
She's a sweet little angel baby.
That made me so mad. And I was really proud of Jasmine. She's like, that's how I felt at the time. Mm-hmm. Good job.
And she's like, I'm sorry I called you a Karen.
Yeah.
That's my mom's name.
But that was so uncalled for. Jason, fuck off. You know what? Quit being Janet's mouthpiece.
I think she just wanted it to be over with. She's like, this is such a dumb fight.
Yeah.
There are times where you're like, I don't need to be right.
Yep.
If we can move on from this, I will say whatever you want me to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I do think even Janet was like, I do kind of have Karen energy. I am kind of entitled. Jasmine's like, yeah, but we all have that sometimes.
Oh my God.
Okay, fine. Let's just, obviously we're all kissing Janet's ass. So let's just get this over with.
And then Janet's like, if I would have known, or I would have thought that you thought it was 2-on-1.
Bullshit.
Oh my God. I know. I'm like, you're such a liar. You're such a liar. You knew it was 2-on-1. Get the hell out of here.
I would have walked away.
No, you wouldn't have. You knew it was 2-on-1. Get out.
God.
So stupid.
They end up that's done with that.
Mm-hmm.
They do a little mini thing of Jack's recorded videos that he does. Go, guys, I'm in the facility. I'm about to get out. I just can't wait to be back. I can't wait to be with my son. I've learned a lot in here, but it's like there's a lot more of the work that I have to do. I just hope everyone can see how hard I'm trying. Fucking bullshit. bullshit. It's garbage. Then they decide to throw a packing party for Brittany. It's either a genius idea or a horrible idea. Yeah. But it's Tuesday. Jax is going to be getting out of the facility on Thursday. Mm-hmm. And all the girls and Zack are helping get all of Jax's clothes and shit bagged up and thrown in the garage. So one, Brittany doesn't have to look at it all the time. Yeah. And two, she can just fully avoid having him going through the house and going, oh, I forgot something else, or oh, I've got to pick something else up, or going through things over and over and over again. I like that idea. Jasmine was like, they have TaskRabbit for this. Why did we have to do this chore? And I think it was just like another situation where everyone's rallying around Brittany, and Michelle's like, where's this energy for me?
I know.
But okay, fine. Like, I'm here helping her, and I'm happy to throw down for my friend. But like, she's not seeing it coming the other way. Which my heart kind of hurt for her.
Yeah.
In the after show, they're talking about it. I want to say that it was Jason who was like, I don't want a lot of people who don't care for me touching my stuff.
Yeah.
And all of these girls have kind of been holding back because Brittany was with Jax. They love Brittany, and so they just deal with Jax. Mm-hmm. And the second that they got the green light to shit on Jax, they're like, yes. Yep. And they loved every second of it. They were literally just taking his clothes, putting them in garbage bags.
Yeah.
And throwing them into the garage and separating his shoes into different bags. Yeah. Which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Kristen was like, it's going to help him with his brain. It's a matching game.
That's amazing.
And then they also planned a surprise for her for the next day. But before she goes to her surprise on Wednesday, she goes to a lawyer. And in the after show, she said that she was kind of thinking she was just going to be going and interviewing a lawyer and getting some information. I don't know, based on what I've read, like, it's not uncommon for you to have to interview with a couple lawyers to find the right person as you're going through to see who's going to represent you. As she's introducing this information to the lawyer, and the lawyer's going, wait, what happened? and what else? Oh, he's watching you through the cameras. Oh, you are now in literally $1 million of debt to the government. $1.2 million of unpaid taxes. And she said Jax was going to go to jail unless they looped that into their mortgage somehow.
Yep. Before they got married, that's what his back taxes were. We didn't know that.
No, Brittany covered it all up.
Yeah, and she's still paying for that.
And she put down $100,000 out of her own bank account to go towards that for him.
Unbelievable.
And this lawyer is like, so he's stalking you? Brittany, I think, said, like, oh, well, he's never hit me. And we're like, all of us are going, he threw a table at you.
Yeah.
He's thrown a table at her.
Yeah.
Do we really think, if he hasn't actually hit her, he's going to? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, this is only going to escalate. This is exactly the kind of guy that it gets scarier and scarier and scarier.
Yeah.
They make documentaries about him.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that she met this lawyer, because I feel like her saying it out loud all at once to a professional who doesn't know him and goes, no, this is very
not
bad.
Normal.
You need to do this. I feel like you can see it in her eyes where she goes, oh, so can I start the process for filing today?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, and I'll get those in tonight or first thing tomorrow morning.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, okay. And so she actually filed that day. I'm so sad for her that it took that long. And I'm going to be honest, I was judgy. And I was like, how has she not had a lawyer this whole time? And then you hear from Michelle. And Michelle's like, I told him that I wanted a divorce. And we were separated, but I didn't actually get a lawyer until much later. And I was like, okay, so I had assumptions about that process that now I feel a little guilty about.
Here's the thing. Men like to mindfuck women very hard during divorces. They like to screw you over and basically tell you how stupid you are, that you don't know what you're doing, and they will either take care of it all, which they don't, or they stall. And you're so stupid that you can't figure it out. And then you're like, oh, well, yeah, I guess I am. And you're so scared and you're so overwhelmed. And that's why it takes forever. And it's not uncommon. And you don't know how to do any of this. And that's why it takes forever.
I mean, and you're not prepared. I think one of the things that stuck out the day before when they were packing stuff up, there was one point where Brittany was throwing stuff in bags with everybody and they're all having a good time. And then she was like, oh, this is his little jean jacket that he loves to wear.
Yeah.
And she started crying. We were just thrilled that we're getting rid of him. And now you're like, oh, his cute little jean jacket. Yeah. She still is in love with him, even though he's done all of these awful things to her.
Yep.
And I think that she was not expecting to
of course,
to file. I'm glad that she did, though. $1.2 million.
Unbelievable.
So she was supposed to be paying $8,000 mortgage, and instead she's paying, she said, over $17,000 a month to deal with his taxes. But then Wednesday night they have a big surprise for her. They've gone to Jax's and rebranded the whole thing just for one night. They put up a new sign on the front. They covered it with a tarp and put a new logo on it. And they redecorated the inside and covered all the pictures of Jax. I didn't realize that there were pictures of Jax up everywhere in Jax's bar.
Oh, yeah. We've seen that in a couple of those episodes. It's only him.
I missed it.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
No one's going to Jax's to look at pictures of Jax. It's like a shrine to Jax.
He is. He goes there to look at himself.
Yeah, I guess
Gross.
So they rebranded it as Britts, and everyone got little Britts shirts made that look like the Jax's logo, but it says Britts, and they're all there to support her, and it's very cute. She quietly tells Kristen, because she didn't realize what was going on. Yeah. She quietly was like, don't tell everybody, but I did file today. So Kristen's like, thank God. And they have this party. Again, Michelle's looking it around at 20 people, throwing Brittany a party to try and cheer her up before Jax gets out of the mental health facility, rehab, whatever the fuck it was. She's like, this kind of sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more on Team Michelle. Not enough Team Michelle to watch all of that Watch What Happens Live episode, but poor Michelle. Then we start, once we've surprised Brittany, she's loving it. It's so cute. They've got her pictures up everywhere. They've redecorated. It's very sweet. We see everyone getting drinks. Danny's getting drinks. And it's kind of alluded, I don't know if it was good editing or if it was really happening, but I think Janet and Jason say that Danny's like hiding his drinking from Nia. And they edited it in such a way that Danny's in one area, Nia's in another, Nia's looking over his shoulder at him, and he's looking at her. And then the second she turns her back, he like grabs a drink. I don't know if that really happened, but he's clearly getting very, very drunk. And many people are commenting about how he's the biggest lightweight of the group, men and women. Like, the alcohol hits him a lot harder than it hits everyone else. Earlier in the week, we get the story that Kristen and Janet had actually sat down and had lunch to squash their beef, just like Jasmine and Jason had done earlier. And they decided, okay, this got out of hand. We're moving forward. That's where they came up with the idea to go do the packing up all of Jax's stuff for Brittany party. And they seemed like they were on good terms. Janet and Jason are sitting there. Danny's there. Luke's there. Other people are in and out. Kristen comes over and she's like, so are we good? We've squashed it all, right? Because I heard that you then the next day went to Sheena's house for the enchilada party, which we watched last week, and talked a bunch of shit about me. And Janet's like, I don't know what you're talking about. But she clearly did.
She did.
The second after, like, you're still talking shit. And she's like, why are you still talking to people about this after we've already dealt with it?
Yeah.
And Danny's sitting there and he's irritated because Janet is causing problems between everyone. Mm-hmm. He's not the messenger, but he's too drunk to know that anymore. At one part, he's like, yeah, you even talked to Jasmine, but you're still talking. And Jasmine's like, I just dealt with this. Don't bring me into this. Like, let's not. And he's like, you said that you were okay with Jasmine, but now you're not because you're talking shit. But he's not terribly coherent about it. He starts saying that he's going to start calling Janet out more and calling out the talking about people behind their backs. And Janet's like, well, we all talk about each other behind our backs. Like, that's just the nature of the beast in this group. But yeah, sure, I get what you're saying. And he's just not buying it. He doesn't like it. He's getting belligerent.
So she can deflect, but nobody else can. That's nice.
100%. 100%. No, she sucks so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Nia is like trying to calm him down. He's not going to calm down. She's irritated. Nia walks away. And then she finds out that they're all going after Danny and talking about Dark Side Danny. Danny Darko, Dark Side Danny, just sitting there and poking at each other and trying to set Danny off. Mm-hmm. And then Janet, of course, starts throwing out, well, we don't have anything to hide. You're the one that's grabbing asses.
Yep.
This happened last October. And I think even Luke was like, she's just throwing strays. Anywhere she can go, but at her.
And if Dark Side Danny is a drunk guy talking the truth, okay. Mm-hmm. That if that's it, okay. I mean, what are we doing here? I don't understand.
He was out of control and being ignorant and belligerent. The next time, as soon as he found out what he did, he tried to apologize for it and then had to go to marriage counseling.
But this guy right now is not Dark Side Danny. This guy is just drunk, calling her out.
And he's irritated.
Yeah.
Because he's getting called an ass grabber. Mm-hmm. And you're like, why the fuck are you doing that? And Jason, why are you letting this happen? Like,
right.
Why?
Right.
If he is your friend.
Right.
Can't you ask her to pump the brakes?
Right.
Or at least be like willing, you have to deal with the consequences of this, which like.
Shut the fuck up, Janet.
So Nia calls an Uber and they're going to peace out. I just felt so bad for Nia. I'm glad that she's sticking up for herself and she's not going to keep putting up with it. I feel honestly bad for Jason because Jason's going to end up a lonely dude. He's going to be hanging out with his wife and his kid and his wife's friends. And it's going to get really boring. When all you have to talk to is Brock. I love Brock. But when that's all you have, it's going to suck. He's going to have Jax and Brock. And that's it.
Yuck.
yucky. We also realize that Jesse's there. Poor Michelle. She's like, everyone's doing this for Brittany. And the guy that I'm dealing with some awful shit from, he's telling everyone I'm a hooker.
Mm-hmm.
He's just here too. And he wasn't drinking.
Yeah.
And he wasn't drinking because he wanted to be very clear-headed, because he is picking up Jax from rehab the next day.
Yeah.
And he thinks this whole thing is dubious, this rebranding for the night of Britts as Jax's. And he thinks that this is poking the bear.
Mm-hmm. Of course he does.
He's concerned that there's going to be a pretty severe regression from Jax as he's coming out of this mental health facility.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Zack feels like, fuck him. Who cares how he's doing? Kind of, I see where Jesse's coming from, but also, who cares? And then you also find out that Jax was seeing people post about this on social media, losing his shit. And then he was also like, I get why Brittany's friends are there. And I get why their husbands got roped in. But Tom, and Tom's like, yeah, you sent me so many rage texts. So many rage texts. And he's like, yeah, because I saw a leg that looked like his shoe in a picture. And Tom's like, yeah, I was actually out of town. That was not me. I did not go to that party. But I did get a lot of rage texts from you. You freaked out at me. Like, holy fucking shit. He's doing it to everyone all the time. He talks about, in the after show, the tit for tat that he and Brittany have, and how he would never have done that sort of thing. And he feels like it really was just very low of everyone to do that. This is my one thing that I have. He said that he keeps his side of the street clean. He's letting Brittany go off. He's letting Brittany tell all these horrible stories, but he will never talk badly about her in public. We've heard him say she cheated on him with Julian. She tells a story about how before she had even gotten together with Julian, they were separated and he was texting other women, and they had taken cruise to the aquarium together.
Yeah. And
girls were texting her the messages that he had sent them.
Yeah.
After they had hooked up. Things like, I can still smell your butt on me.
What?
I know that he likes stinky things.
Mm-hmm.
He loves a stinky, sweaty foot. Mm-hmm. Is something that he's into. I don't understand that. Mm. That is disgusting to me.
So here's the thing. Jax and Jesse can't get over their ex-wives having this idea that they need to be winning at some divorce aspect. The reason that they see it as winning is it's hurting their ego is what it is. Because the two of them are very big narcissists, and their ego is being bruised because they treated their partners like shit their entire marriage. And these women are now not putting up with it at all. They're not putting up with their bullshit. These women are actually standing up for themselves. These women are having confidence and saying, fuck off. And this is what I'm doing. And you can't take this away from me, and actually showing what kind of a person they are and reflecting this behavior back to them. And these men don't like it. And so they see it as these women are trying to do some sort of winning against me. And that's what it is. And it's really infantile, and it's stupid and disgusting. That's why Jax and Jesse keep saying, well, why do you have to keep winning? Why do they have to keep one-upping me? No, they're not actually one-upping or winning at anything. They're just reflecting back your bad behavior back to you, because you tortured them for however long you were married, and you were a complete dick to them, and they're not putting up with your shit anymore. And you don't like it. So, yeah.
It was really humorous if it wasn't so gross. Jax was talking about how he's not going to speak negatively in public ever about the mother of his child, which he's talked so much shit about.
Oh,
We've
over
all
and
seen
over.
It. And he's like, but I don't do that. I would never do that. And she wants to say this, but one day Cruz is going to see all the things that she said about me. But it's like her saying the things that he has done out loud is like, he thinks that's worse than him doing the things that he's done.
Yeah.
She's done a lot. She's done so many bad things, but I'm going to address that with her one-on-one.
What?
And it's like, if there was something for you to address, you would have done it. You've addressed things. Like she sent pictures to Julian, and you're not okay with that. You've talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
You won't stop talking about that.
You won't stop. Exactly.
We've asked you to stop. What else have you got?
Yeah.
That she left the house?
Yeah.
Like, what else do you have here? He's also talking about the money that he's going to be giving her. Hasn't given her any of that money.
Mm-hmm.
This whole thing, I don't know how much of the financials that we'll get to be able to find out in real time, because they're still not divorced.
Oh, yeah.
When all of this shakes out,
my God, yeah.
I am so curious. Desperately want her to be able to get out of his tax situation. I think she's still in the house. So the foreclosure stuff, it seems like she got that figured out.
Yeah.
So he's going to get out next week. And it can't go well. I don't actually think I remember seeing a recap.
No, it just said to be continued.
They didn't even, or not a recap, like a spoiler. So we're not going to, they're not showing us yet, guys. So it's going to be insane. To decompress from Jax Taylor, I think it's time for true crime story time.
True crime story time.
Yeah, Luke, I've got it. You're better at that than I am.
Somebody's got to write us a song.
Somebody write us a song. So we have to get back into the Mortician, episode 2 on HBO. It is so good. I am so glad that you picked this one. Blowing my mind, because as we go through, it gets worse and worse and worse. It's also crazy that I've been reflecting, you and I talked about this. I've been reflecting on my own experiences with loss and like what that process is. And it is very much dictated to you by the funeral director. They give you all your options. No one's is exactly the same. And you do have freedom to choose different things, but you know, you're putting all of your trust in these people who you are, you know, these incredible professionals. The Lamb family was such a pillar of that community. Several years ago, my little sister, she passed away. And after we learned about what was going on with the teeth, it really shined a light on actually how fantastic the people who did the people who did my sister's viewing and cremation and doing all of that for our family, they were really wonderful. But one of the things that happened, Chelsea was my sister, and she passed away suddenly very young. She was in her 20s. And the family that ran the crematorium, they did a viewing for us and they had her presented for us, and we got to have a family ceremony. Later on, we did a larger celebration of life for her. But after the viewing, they had pulled my dad aside and they said, she has an opal ring. Is that something that you would like us to save and give to you before we cremate her? And my dad said, yeah, that would be great. And this family was very, very sweet. I want to say they were from South Africa or they were Dutch, but there was a very thick accent there. And later on, my dad came. We were all in the car and my dad had gone to pick something up at the crematorium and then came back in and got in the car and was laughing hysterically. And we're like, what is going on? And he was like, Chelsea would have loved this. In my family, we really value sense of humor. And I think having a shocking sense of humor.
Well, making people uncomfortable.
As
As a sense of humor.
Chelsea, like, we all do it to varying degrees, right?
Yes.
Like, Steve wants everyone to laugh.
Yes.
My dad and me, to an extent, I think I'm between Dad and Steve, where it's like I want everyone to enjoy their time, but also I do like watching people be uncomfortable. Grandma Darlene loved to say something shocking.
Yeah.
Grandma would bring up my boobs in front of Matt as often as possible because he would get so uncomfortable. She loved it.
Yes.
She's like, oh, you see that? It came from me.
Yes.
She got those from me. And Matt's just like, Jesus fucking Christ.
You have very
Chelsea,
nice boobs, by the way.
Thank
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Matt agrees. So, my dad also likes everyone to have a good time, but also likes to shock. And
yes, he does.
And our quote, our inside thing that we say all the time is, sometimes my jokes are just for me. Like, if we're entertained by it, sometimes that's enough. It's the Andy Kaufman in us. Chelsea took it to an extreme. Chelsea loved everyone being shocked and everyone being uncomfortable, even more than everyone laughing. Like, she thought that was great. And so my dad getting in the car, he was like, this was Chelsea. This is a sign for Chelsea. And we're like, what? And so he's explaining that the director of the crematorium had said, like, you know, would you like this opal ring? And my dad was like, so I was expecting to get the opal ring back. But the accent was very thick. It was not an opal ring. It was my sister's nipple ring. So they were like, here's your daughter's ring.
So these poor people.
Oh my God.
Taking out a nipple ring at these beautiful boobs.
Oh. So that is something, I mean, you don't think about, but they were thorough.
Nice.
So thank you for the
nipple ring.
The opal ring.
I love it. It's amazing.
So but they didn't have to do that. And that is something, you know, Dad would not have been aware of it. They had a lot of honor and were upstanding people and made sure that my dad had whatever he needed and wanted. But not so much for
Good Sconce and this Lamb family. Oh my God. This episode too is just more gruesome than we really expected it to be. It just gets worse and worse. Where it left off with the death of Tim Waters, the other mortuary owner, and everybody is saying that David Sconce had something to do with it, right? Poisoning him or killing him somehow. And David is like, yeah, I didn't have anything to do with it. But after Tim's death, David becomes more confident and he's like, yeah, I got this in the bag. And so he begins to move his business up the West Coast, right? He's getting more and more business. And so they show the numbers for 1985 is now over 8,000 cremations, which is incredible. So 8,173 cremations. And Steve is Rain Man. My husband is trying to do the math in his head, how many bodies they're having to cremate to do 8,000 bodies in 1 year. Anyway, so again, David's feeling really confident. He's moving his business up the West Coast. Then they show from 1985 to 1986, it goes from 8,000 to 25,000 cremations. People, I can't even do that math. I can't. I asked Steve to do that math, and he said it was like 200 bodies in a day. Anyway, so that's incredible. So 25,000 bodies they're cremating in a year, from 8,000 to 25,000. David is pressuring his employees. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Everybody, these people can't keep up. The shelves are full. The freezers are full. Every time they do a cremation, these people turn around and there's more. There's more and more and more. But they say, look, we're doing the best that we can. But anytime we need anything, David says, I'll take care of you. So they feel like David's taking care of them, but they also feel a lot of pressure to do all of these cremations. November, they have this date, November 23rd, 1986. They have one of these employees. He's grayed out. They don't show his name. These guys are doing drugs in this crematorium. They are getting high. These are not the best people in the world. So he says, look, I get high. I'm planning on coming back to the crematorium. I get high. I leave. He goes, I fall asleep. And I get this phone call from Lorianne. She's screaming and she's telling me the crematorium's on fire. The crematorium's on fire. So yeah, crematorium in Pasadena burns down to the ground. Johnny, one of the other employees, David says he thinks it's Johnny that calls him and says, crematorium has burnt down to the ground. And David's like, these guys are smoking dope while they're doing these cremations. Why is he surprised? Anyway, he's surprised that these employees that are drug addicts and off the street, no shame. Anyway, so these guys doing dope, and yeah, they get high. They burn the crematorium down.
That location should have been taking, I think they said it could do 8 bodies total a day.
Yeah.
And supposedly this is his crematorium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he said at this point he was doing 15 bodies in each oven, and he had 2 ovens. Mm-hmm. So he was doing 15 in each oven at this point. And he said he was still picking up business and still doing cremations. And people around town could not figure it out.
Where? It was the most Jax Taylor. He was like, I should have been, that's on me. I should have been more selfish.
Yeah.
And stopped taking bodies.
Yeah.
But
no,
I was so concerned about making sure that my guys got paid.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Gold star for you.
He really should have been more selfish.
Was an A+ criminal. So people could not figure out where he's doing these other cremations. So we find out 1986, and this is so funny. I'm watching it with Steve, and they say, no, David's like, people couldn't figure out where I'm doing my cremations. And my autistic husband goes, the desert. And I'm like, how do you know that? He's like, he's doing it in the desert, honey. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
we've all seen Breaking Bad.
What? So he's doing it. Yes, he has in a city called Hesperia out in the desert. And I instantly Googled it. Between Pasadena and Hesperia is a little over an hour between the two of them.
Not bad.
Not bad. Not bad at all. He has this huge building. I mean, it kind of looks like an airport hangar. It's huge.
Yeah.
Just this building out there. And so we see this interview with this air pollution guy. And I'm thinking, here we go.
It's so wild. It's like
Here we go.
It's like how that mafia guy, he got stuck on his taxes.
Yeah.
It all fell apart for him for air pollution.
Yes. So 1986, air pollution, EPA gets involved because another business owner complains of the smell and of the smoke out in Hesperia. And they complain that there is a ceramics building that is stinky and has a lot of smoke coming out of it 24/7. And he's like, dude, you got to come out here and check this out. There is something going on that is not right. And so this air pollution guy goes out there, and it's called Oscar Ceramics. And they claim they are making tiles for NASA and the space industry.
Space tiles.
Space
tiles.
Like bodies. Holy smokes. Yeah. So, there's obviously a fence around this giant building. Like, again, it looks like an airport hangar. And there's a note on it that says, you can't come in, do not disturb. But there's a phone number that says, if you want to talk to the owner, this is the phone number to call, which I thought was kind of funny. So the complaint is there's flames coming out of the smokestack, smells like dead bodies. The business owner that calls says he's just adamant it smells like dead bodies because he liberated Auschwitz and he knows what that smell is. I can't even.
Isn't that horrible?
I can't. I
Can you imagine being that guy and smelling that again? Like the PTSD.
My God.
That's got to trigger.
Yeah, I just can't. And this is in 1986. So Johnny is the other Hispanic employee. that he's talking and he says, David built these ovens inside the Hesperia ceramics facility that were just gigantic, just too huge. He said he knew it was going to not work. They were doing cremations for about 3 months before the raid, he called it. He just said it was just so overwhelming and so big of an operation that he knew it was just going to come crashing down. And then we meet the sergeant for that county, that San Bernardino County that Hesperia is in. So his patrolmen go out there from the air pollution guy to check it out. And they go out there in January of 1987. So they've got air quality control. They've got fire department out there. They've got the sheriff, the police. And they're on the outside of the fence, and nobody's coming out. But we see a picture of the Camaro, Johnny's Camaro, out there. That's the only thing that's outside this building.
The description of how they had set it up, because was awesome. If it wasn't so horrific, it's funny.
Yeah, true.
It's like it's too hot to work in there.
Yeah.
So he had wired an air conditioner, like a portable air conditioner, and a television in from the electrical from the warehouse. So he had wires coming from inside the building to his car. Some
sort of telephone also that he could call David, right? So he, at some point, Johnny just kept refusing to come out. Finally, he came out to talk to these guys. He called David Sconce, and David's like, you got to keep him at bay. You got to lie to him. You got to do whatever don't let him in. Don't let him in. And Johnny's like, dude, I've got to let him in. So he finally lets him in. And this county sheriff says he walks in, and there is just ash, black ash and soot. And it's just sticky and oily is everywhere. It's on the floor, it's on the walls, it's on the ceiling. And these guys are wearing suits. And he said they didn't want to get it or touch because it would stick to their suits. He didn't want to touch anything. He didn't want to get it on anything. And so they turned the power off because they wanted to see inside these ovens. And the employee, Johnny's like, I'm not turning the ovens off. I'm not opening these kilns. I'm not doing anything. You guys do it.
Yeah.
So they shut the power off to see inside the kiln. And the employee's like, I don't want to see in there. I'm not looking in there. I'm not looking in there because whatever is being cremated is not done, is not fully cremated. I'm not looking in it. That's not for me, dude. So they put the fire out. They open these kilns, and obviously they see flesh and bone and skull. And they're inside also, I forgot to mention, they have barrels with prosthetics from these bodies also everywhere. I forgot about that part. That's got to be gross. And then he said they had dug these trenches on either side of the kilns all the way to the back of the facility to capture the fat burning out of the kilns like a drip pan. Drip pan, people.
The photo of it where it had clearly overflowed and was creating these little rivers of melted human fat and flesh across the desert.
Incredible. When
you realize what that is. And it was huge.
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, they showed a picture of bones that they had seen. And all I thought of was, you see those movies of dinosaurs in pits where people fall in pit of bones, and you're like, oh shit, this is not good because a dinosaur or something is going to come down and attack them. That is literally what this looked like, of all these different, but these were human bones. Then the producer of the show asked Johnny, how many bodies are you guys doing in these kilns at once at this point? And he said, 150 to 200 bodies in each kiln at a time. And I looked at my husband and I said, I'm trying to picture when we go downtown and do, say, Live at 25 or a street market or something, and there's 200 people. That is so many. That is so many at once. I have no register of what that looks like or how big that is, how much work that is, or what ungodly that smell must be.
Oh my God.
Or even, like you said, the fat, how much fat that has got to be coming off.
It looked like a parking lot.
It was
with like rivers through.
Oh, it was just so gross. Anyway, so then they cut back to David, and David's like, yeah, like you said in the beginning, I got ahead of myself. I should have done it better. I should have done it right. I should have done it correctly. And the producer's like, well, what does it look like? What does it mean you should have done it right? What does it look like doing it the right way? And he said, well, getting permits. I should have had permits for it. And he said, but I would still commingle bodies. I still would have done multiple cremations.
Yeah, I still would have done that. Of course, we would have done multiple bodies at a time.
Oh my God.
And there's part of me that I can see where he's coming from.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. But also, I think that he's looking at it completely pragmatically. But I think that there is a need to respect the humanity. He refuses the second that someone's dead, and it seems like maybe even before, like he doesn't respect the humanity of others.
Yeah, he's missing something in his brain.
Yeah.
There, skipped.
Yeah.
I don't know, some empathy button in his brain there. So then we meet a reporter that works for the Pasadena Star-News. So then the story comes out in the newspaper about David and the ceramics, facility being investigated for these kilns. And so this reporter, he sees David Sconce and he says, I'm going to go in the phone book and look up all the last name Sconce. Okay, so for anybody out there listening to this podcast or watching us, a phone book is a big giant book with everybody's name and address and telephone number. We used to have those a really, really long time ago before we had cell phones. You had to or Google or the internet or anything. You had to open this giant book to look for someone's name. And so he said he opened the phone book, he looked, everybody had the last name Sconce to try and call them to see if they had any sort of reaction to this news article coming out. He got the fourth person down, and this guy just started saying the F word. Who the fuck are you? What do you want? What? Anyway, he knew this was the David Sconce they were talking about.
Got the right guy.
Yeah, got the right guy.
Can we talk about one other thing that's from that time?
Yes.
That I also loved about this reporter?
Yes.
He literally was like, this is back when you just had a phone book and this is how you do your investigating. Also, his photo. That's back when they didn't have digital photos.
Yes.
And so his picture is him just like this kind of blank stare.
Yeah.
And like, here's a picture of me from that time.
Oh my God.
You don't have a bunch to choose from.
Oh no.
He just has this one where he's like, huh.
Whoops. Where somebody walked by him and they're like, hey, David. And then he was like, hey, there's no time to pose.
No.
We're not taking an Instagram.
You don't get more than one try at that.
No, absolutely not.
Is what
it was amazing.
Thought of in that photo.
Right.
He's fun. He's a good. He's really good in this. So watch it. Just so you can see him in that photo.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
So then he finds out that David is connected to the Lamb family, and so he calls that phone number. And the crematorium and the Lamb funeral home have the same phone number. So then he writes his story about the crematorium and the ceramics facility and the Lamb family being connected to it. And then he starts to get people calling him and writing him saying, how dare you disparage the Lamb family? They are basically close to God that you could get. These people are just wonderful and they're pious and they can do no wrong. Then we go back to the sheriff in San Bernardino County, where in Hesperia out in the desert where the ceramics facility is. And they are trying to figure out what, if any, criminal crimes have been committed at the ceramics facility, right? They're thinking, well, they did commingling of bodies. That's a misdemeanor, which is what David said in episode 1. He's like, I've done is commit a misdemeanor. So they're trying to figure that part out. So they do a search warrant. So the search warrant, the first one they do is on the Lamb family funeral home. He meets Lorianne, and everybody loves Lorianne. Lorianne is just wonderful and sweet. And how can I help you? And I'm just willing to answer all of your questions. And what can I do for you? And I'll make you a cake and I'll buy you a car and all of these things. She couldn't be more.
She's sweet to the people that work for David.
Oh God, yes.
What was she what was it that she said? Oh, hi, honey. Or hello, dear.
Yes.
Hello, dear.
This is to the police officers, and they're thinking, oh my God, this woman, right? She wouldn't kill a fly. She wouldn't have dirt on the bottom of her shoes. This is just the most wonderful woman on the planet. So they see photos. They have photos of embalming in the funeral home. They go into the cold storage at the funeral home, and they have lawful dead bodies wrapped up in these cardboard containers. And they're like, I don't know what to do. We have all these lawful things. We have nothing with this search warrant. So then they have a second search warrant that they serve on Lamb Senior's home. And it's this big, beautiful mansion.
Oh my God, so gorgeous.
Oh my God, it's just gorgeous. He has a beautiful settee in his house. They have all these beautiful old photos and everything is pristine in this house. And, the sheriff is like, this guy he has to have resources. He has to have influence in this community, right? He basically finds nothing in this guy's home in this search warrant. Then they have the police go back to the ceramics facility a second time with shovels. They're digging around, seeing if they can find anything. Maybe they've, buried something out there and they're not quite sure. They're just kind of grabbing at straws at this point. Then they show TV stories with David Sconce being interviewed saying, hey, they've misjudged us. They've misrepresented my family. We've done nothing wrong. We've done no improprieties from anywhere. Nothing has happened.
Done nothing wrong.
We've done nothing wrong.
In my life.
Right. And we find out that Johnny, one of the employees, the one that had the Camaro that was there when the first raid, he gets arrested 2 weeks after the raid. And then everybody that worked at that crematorium and the ceramics, they all start getting arrested one by one. The police are trying to get them to tell them what the hell's going on. What is happening with this family? Who is David? Tell us what's going on. There's got to be somebody here that will sing like a canary and tell us what's happening, because they're just really grabbing at straws trying to figure out what they can charge somebody with. They really at this point have nothing that they can charge anybody with.
So niche.
They can charge them with, air pollution and maybe a misdemeanor for commingling the bodies. But the police are like, we know something weird is going on. We just know it. So then we meet this lovely gentleman from the the funeral board named Skip. Skip's just Skip. We love Skip. Skip's just wonderful. Gray hair, gray mustache. And we figure out what Skip does with the funeral board. He does audits, just random audits for these funeral homes. So he goes in to see on these, they're called pre-need trust accounts. So you can go in to a funeral home. You can prepay for your funeral, for whatever you want to do. And they keep it in a trust. Mm-hmm. And then it's before, obviously, a demise of any sort. And then, obviously, when your family member passes, then they already have the money and everything's good to go. They have to keep it in this account. They have to account for it. They have to report it to the funeral board. So he will randomly show up and check your books to make sure you're doing that and check your accounts. The sheriff shows up to Skip and says, hey, I want to talk about when you did that for the Lamb family back in 86 or 85. And he was like, really? That seems kind of weird. What do you mean? So then he describes this interaction with Lorianne when he walks into the funeral home, Lamb funeral home, and she's sitting behind the desk.
Yeah.
He describes her as having this light shone behind her and having this aura and speaking to her like she was meant to do this, like she was put on the earth to do this as a job. The first thing my husband said, he's in love with her. He 100% is in love with this woman.
I mean, this man is this sweet...
Yeah.
But, like, very by the book.
100%.
Bookish.
You can tell he loves his job, too.
He's an auditor for the Funeral Association. Like, he's not this fun, jazzy guy.
No.
But then all of a sudden, he's like, I remember it like it was yesterday.
Oh, my God. It was wonderful to listen to him.
He really admired her.
Yeah. Yes. So he goes through her books. And he says, we got a problem here. And she is just shocked. He says, there are 170 pre-need trust accounts that she never reported. 170, not one, not two, 170. That is quite incredible. And they show this huge list of all of these pre-need trust accounts that she never reported. And she is just, oh my God, what can I do? Tell me what to do.
What do we need to do?
Tell me.
I can't believe.
I'll take care of it. And
we need to make this right. I can't believe. I feel terrible.
Yes. So great. And so he says, this is what you need to do. Take care of it. Just report it. She's like, I won't take any more money. I won't do this.
We're going to get this fixed.
Get it fixed and taken care of. And he said, I walked out of there believing she was going to fix it and take care of it and not take any more money. Yeah. Come to find out, by the time this ceramics facility raid had happened, she had done nothing.
Well, she had done a little something.
She had raked in over $100,000 in trust and interest from all of these.
Skimmed that right off the top.
Skimmed it right off the top. What do we have, ladies and gentlemen? We have a felony. It's called grand theft. And it's Lorianne. So they have a criminal charge that they can do something with. And so they all go back to the police station and they talk about it. And they're thinking, okay, let's put our heads together. The county sheriff calls in some deputy coroners to take a look at these embalming pictures.
Yeah.
And the coroner's saying, hey, these are not embalming pictures. These are body harvesting pictures. And they are all just shocked. They're like, what the hell are you talking about? And they're like, look, he's peeling back in this picture. He's cutting off his hair. He's opening his head in this picture. He's clearly got his hand inside his chest in this picture. He's cutting open these bodies. He's taking out organs. They're harvesting body parts in these pictures.
These are, like, hung on the wall.
Yeah. Hung on the wall in the funeral home that Miss Lorianne was working in and dealing.
And the whole time until we found out about this.
Yeah.
I was like, poor Lorianne.
Oh, 100%.
Her son is going to destroy the family name. I think even the journalist was like, oh my God, this son is fucking up this lineage of these pillars of society. And then this guy's coming in being just an absolute monster.
Mm-hmm.
And Lorianne, everyone loves Lorianne. She's sweet church lady with an aura behind her and her big poofy hair.
Yeah. It's full of dirty lies and scariness. That's what her hair is full of.
Hair's so big. It's full of secrets.
Full of secrets. Yep. So now we have another felony that we can charge them with because you're not allowed to do that, people.
Mm-mm.
Oi. Yeah, they have another interview with one of the drivers, Andre. He was like, yeah, we all witnessed them harvesting body parts, brains, hearts, lungs, eyeballs, all of that. They all did all of that. And the one employee that I talked about in the beginning where his face was all grayed out, he said they would bring bodies in. They would have guys come into the trucks with a Sharpie and write on the outside the word whole or the outside the word donor. And now we know what that meant. Yeah, the producers of the show asked David about it. So now we're get the backstory. Loopholes. David is so genius, and I hate to give him a compliment about these
evil genius
loopholes that he has created for himself. So he said he meets this guy named George Bristol, and George was doing this surgery on a cornea one day, and he was asking him about it. He was like, he wasn't embalming. He didn't quite know what he was doing. George was working for the Doheny Eye Bank, the Doheny Eye Institute in California. And David was like, ding, 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 ding. Hey, man, I can get you more bodies than you can handle to do all your research on. And David's thinking, I can get more money than I can handle. And so then David creates this business called the Coastal International Eye and Tissue Bank, because David knows that he can't sell body parts or tissue, but he can bill for his time in retrieving the body parts and the tissue.
Mm-hmm.
My God. Oh my effing God. So he sets up this operation, and all of his employees notice these guys are around in like lab coats and medical coats, and these
like
doctors. They look like doctors, not doctors. He gets in businesses, actual businesses that have hired David to get these organs and these tissues for quite a lot of money. I mean, they show this document from the Carolina, I didn't write it down, the Carolina Biological back east, where it was brains were 500, hearts were 750, lungs were 100. And it said the total for this first shipment was $750,000 for everything that he was shipping to this company. But he was just billing for his time. Holy shit. Like, it was just completely insane. It was absolutely incredible what he was doing that they had figured out. They interviewed some of the families. So the families were finding out through the news stories on TV and in the newspaper, right, that their ashes that they were getting were possibly not their family members. They were really upset about it. And Steve and I were talking. He was like, would you keep the ashes at that point? Would you get rid of the ashes? What would you do? And I was like, I don't know. I guess I would probably keep them. I don't know what I would do if I found that out. Well, I don't know.
And then it's like you're now holding on to the remembrance of what you thought was your family, but now it's strangers.
Yeah.
And so how do you do that when you have no idea?
Right.
how do you respectfully hold that or dispose of it? So one of the families who had like taken her father's ashes out to the desert, she's like, who knows? Who knows who I put in the desert? And who knows where my father ended up? Yeah. Although she did find out bit by bit, somehow they were able to find down and track down that his eyes had been donated and his organs had been donated.
I know, that was incredible. I can't even believe that. So then the sheriff in San Bernardino County, where the ceramics facility was, he was telling us that they found out that Lorianne had, in the funeral home, ashes in her desk. So she had a Word Excel document. They didn't have Excel back then, people. This is what I'm trying to explain. But she had written down
her little note.
A little note, a chart that how much ash to put in the urn for a man, a woman, a child, and even a baby. I mean, so she knew what was going on. This is telling them that Lorianne knew what was going on.
Intimately
knew what was happening.
If you know the weight needed to fake an infant's ashes, you know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah. David Sconce at one point even said, people, I learned how to do all of this from my parents. Mm-hmm. Lori and Jerry have been doing this forever, and this is basically fruit from the poisonous tree. And the employees even said, we have seen Jerry go in and remove, gold from teeth. So all the employees have said, Lori and Jerry have been doing this. They know, and even Lawrence Sr. So all of these lambs have been doing this for years, for generations.
And it really had seemed like they had, at worst, turned a blind eye to their son.
Yeah.
That's what it really seemed like.
Yeah.
And what it actually was is that he took what they had and went, let's expand.
Yep.
Let's blow this up.
Yep.
I honestly think he probably, if he hadn't gone so big so fast, it's like the Krispy Kreme donuts.
Oh my God,
it was like Five Guys. He went too many locations.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
So then they start talking about Tim Waters again. And they're thinking, well, if David could do all of these things, they're wondering if he had anything to do with his death, because they didn't really test for anything in his autopsy. It was just ruled that he had a heart attack, but they didn't do a toxicology report. They didn't test any of his tissue. They said it was happenstance that the night that Tim was killed, that they had two neighbors across from his business that had seen two guys come out and were eating and drinking after, and had dropped a carton of milk, and the police had picked that up and had kept it in an evidence locker for 2.5 years. And so they had tested that, and there were fingerprints on the carton of milk, and the fingerprints had come back to one of the drivers for David. And so they had arrested that guy. His name was Danny, and they had arrested Danny, and Danny started singing like a songbird, and telling the police everything that he knew about what David was up to. And
well, that was part of what I really liked about it as well. Is like they had spent all this time where these drivers got close with Leanne, and Leanne's like, hey dear. And they said that she would bake you a cake if you asked. Yeah. She was just very sweet. And then once they brought everybody in and arrested everybody, and everyone has to start posting bail, and Danny's like, so what's happening to me? Yeah. And she was like, you're on your own.
I'm out.
He's like, fuck that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See ya. So, he basically said that David admitted to poisoning Tim. And so then they went back and did a toxicology. and tested his tissue to analyze it and see if there was any poisoning or anything going on with Tim Waters' body. And the toxicology report came back that he was poisoned by something called oleander. And oleander is this flower shrub kind of thing. Apparently it's all over in Southern California. Yeah. They were saying it's in front of houses, in people's backyards, and the side neighbor right along the streets, and you can basically get it anywhere. So there you go. Bing, bang, boom.
The reason that he knew this, how to poison this guy, everyone had to post bond, including his mom and dad and him. Mm-hmm. And they had like $5,000 bonds, so they were able to get out. But then his was like $500,000. Yeah. And so they couldn't get him out because he was such a flight risk. Yeah. And he was considered dangerous. Mm-hmm. And then they put him in this part of the jail where he's like the worst murderers. And then also the most influential people, where murderers and gang leaders and Lindsay Lohan would all have been in the same place. He was there, I guess, because he was considered influential and also dangerous. They interviewed that other guy in the jail. Mm-hmm. And he had the funniest line of the show. He was talking about how everything was off about David Sconce. Yeah. He at first seemed like Leave It to Beaver, just vanilla white bread kind of guy. And then he started talking big game and started kind of explaining and trying to kind of get some clout in there. Mm-hmm. And he's like, this guy was just off and was scary and gross. And you could see that he was kind of a psychopath. And he's like, I'm a criminal. I'm not inhuman. Like,
that was awesome. Yeah.
That this guy who was like a hardened criminal was like, I'm a criminal. I'm not that. That's horrible.
Yeah. That was amazing. I know. He called him Richie Cunningham, which for all you people out there, if you don't know what Richie Cunningham is, look up a TV show called Happy Days. And then you'll know what he's talking about.
But it's so interesting to watch. David Sconce goes between being sweet little goody two-shoes and then also because he's doing these interviews where he's like, they're dragging our good name through the mud. It's really horrible. I feel so bad for my mom. My mom doesn't deserve this. And it's awful what they're doing to us in the media. And then also he does like a Charles Manson smile on purpose to like freak everybody out as they're driving him away in the cop car. Yeah. And he, I guess, had been reading this like book / pamphlet, because this is back in the 80s. So they don't just have the internet where you can look up awful things. Like the dark web doesn't exist yet. Mm-hmm. And what was it? The other one, like the Anarchist Almanac. And it's like where you find out how to make bombs and poisons and all of these awful things. And he's very excitedly telling everybody about all the stuff that he's read in this book. And that's how they narrow it down, is that he gets a little proud of himself.
So he has this book and everybody can corroborate that he has this book, that they've seen him with this book, that the book is in his car, and that's how he knows what to do with oleander. And then they show it with the plant poisoning and the weight and what to do with it and how much to use it. There's one of the employee that's always grayed out says he put it in his salad, the
oil and vinegar salad dressing.
Oil and vinegar salad dressing.
Bitter. Mm-hmm.
When he got up to leave the table, he put it in a salad dressing. And then at the end, that same employee said, I miss the good old days. It was simpler in the 80s and 90s. And the producer, what are you talking about? It's easier. I'm like, oh my God. Wait, what?
Yeah. And they're like, well, how many people did David get away with murder? Yeah. He's like, I don't know. Like 3.
Like 3.
At least.
Oh. And then they just, episode's over. Oh, okay. We'll have to wait till
it's nuts.
Next week.
And then there was also the part where they were talking again about how the mom was like good with everybody and she would call the drivers when they'd go to pick up from someone's home. Yeah. And she'd say, is the body still warm? Can you check the eye and see if it's still wet? If the eye isn't wet, you need to put these drops in the eye. Is the body still warm? And if the body was still warm, she was excited and needed them to hurry up.
Oh my God.
So they could harvest the bodies. Mm-hmm. So they've been doing all of this forever. Mm-hmm. So David Sconce, would he be an evil genius if he hadn't been raised in that house?
Right.
Would he have just been a genius?
Right. That's why they just left him alone at that. Here's a crematorium. We're just going to leave you there. Don't call us for anything. We don't want to know. So we showed you how to do it, so go, man, go.
It's going to be nuts.
So crazy.
I mean, I just feel like every time I think that the story can't get worse,
I know.
it gets worse.
I know. Right.
We have part 3 next week, which I think is the final part.
Yeah.
We also have, I don't know if we're going to talk about it next week or if we'll hold off until the week after, but Keeley and I talked about the Gilgo Beach murders.
Yes.
And a brand new documentary has come out about that. And this one is from the point of view of the murderer's family.
I know.
So the whole thing centers around how could the family have not known?
Yeah.
So we're going to find out from the family's point of view what was going on and what it was like in that house that was falling apart and had murders in the basement.
I can't wait.
So I'm very interested because the family seemed whacked out, but everyone seemed, at least from the law enforcement side, seemed to really believe that they weren't involved, weren't aware, didn't know.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting.
I love it. I love it.
And then we're going to hopefully get 2 new bombshells in the villa tonight.
It's 2 new dudes, yes.
Dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have to talk about Love Island one more time.
Okay, go.
Are any of the men attractive? I mean, they're all attractive, but like who's like meeting the level of the hotness of these girls?
No, none of them.
None of them.
No.
I was thinking maybe the British guy, but then he ruins it with his like, he's never had a relationship before.
Right. And I there's something off about him because the other girls before Hannah,
all of them were like not
touching him. Yes,
yeah.
And there's something there.
There's
I don't know.
A vibe is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
There's something that no one's clicking with.
Yep. Like you said, there's like bad breath or something weird going on.
Something's happening.
I don't know. I mean, I like Hannah. I think they're very cute together. So maybe that's like literally not it, but I don't know.
I don't know. I think they're both shallow as puddle.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody is, let's be honest.
I mean, yeah. Hello.
I think Austin is deeper.
Oh.
Than Hannah.
Hello. Yes. And why is he raised up in the ranks? How did that happen? What world are we in that happened?
I don't know. And I think Amaya, if Amaya doesn't get saved by the 2 new bombshells, I hope she's out so fast because she is insane.
But you go on your phone and you vote, right? We vote.
Do we vote?
You vote, right? Get on your phone, download the app, and vote. Vote.
I should vote.
My love.
I should vote.
I'm
going to vote.
Okay.
Everybody vote. I vote for real elections. I should be voting for this as well.
Yes, it matters.
All right. Well,
because we're a part of it.
We are a part of it. I need to feel involved.
We are involved, and they're waiting for you and I to vote. Do it.
All right. So this week, everyone vote.
Yes.
And tell us who your favorites are on Love Island. And hold your butts because Jax is getting out of rehab and part 3 of The Mortician will be next week.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening again, guys. I love you, Keeley.
I love you.
Bye.
Bye.